This day is, of course, especially a celebration, but it's also good for us to think of what it is that we're celebrating. Not only the construction of this perfectly beautiful temple, but also the expression in architecture of a teaching which I believe is greatly needed today. Yogananda used to say, immortalize this teaching in architecture. And this building here today is the fruition of that. I would like to build this same temple, a copy of it in India, if you'll come and help us. And at Ananda Village in California. And I would like to get people from both places building with each other. People from America going to India, people from India helping to come here, as a means of helping to express the ideal of the unity of these two countries. Yogananda said that someday India and America would unite to lead the world. I don't think he meant politically, but ideally. America represents the how to improve spirit, the New Age spirit, you might say. India represents the ancient tradition. And when Riemann said that India used to be one of the most wealthy, I would go further than that. You know that Marco Polo, when he went there in the 13th century, said that it is the most prosperous country in the world. It's a very interesting thing. If that, not that long ago, India was even then so prosperous, then England came, England became wealthy and India became poor. There one suspects sort of a cause-effect relationship there. When you see the jewels from the Taj Mahal and the English crown and so on. Anyway, we won't want But India is the most ancient culture. All the old cultures have died except India. Egypt, China has undergone great changes, but all the great cultures, India has remained alive, vibrant, and still wise because she believed in Sanatana Dharma. Now, what is Sanatana Dharma? It is not Hinduism. Most people in India think that's the name for Hinduism. Yes, it is, but it's also the right name for Christianity. It's the right name for Buddhism. It's the right name for truth. Because Sanatana Dharma means the eternal religion. And that religion must be the same religion on the most distant planet in the most distant galaxy in this universe. There can only be one truth. And the essence of Sanatana Dharma is that God, in order to create the universe, had nothing to create it out of. He could only evolve it out of his own consciousness. He had to dream it. We might say, but this doesn't look like consciousness. No, it doesn't. But if you think of it this way, that consciousness, just as when you dreamed last night, in fact, 2 nights ago, I was dreaming that it was raining. I could actually see the rain and the puddles dropping down. Yet it wasn't real. And so we can evolve things with mind force into dreams. But if we had more power, we could evolve those dreams into energy. And everything science has proved is actually a vibration of energy. Now, how can that be? If you look at a tuning fork, you see it moving back and forth, it looks like there's a certain amount of material between those two extremes of that tuning fork. If you look at a propeller of an airplane, it looks like, if it's going fast, it looks like a dish, doesn't it? So you can see that vibrations, an infinite number of vibrations, can produce the illusion of reality, of solid matter. But science itself declares something that otherwise would sound preposterous, that it is just vibrations of energy. energy is a vibration of thoughts. Thought is a vibration of consciousness. And this being the case, the entire universe was evolved out of that infinite consciousness. The idea of a God, which Christians usually think of as an old man with a long white beard, well, he's a lot older than that. I could have a white beard, no problem. The thing is that it's an infinite consciousness out of which everything has evolved. Everything is that consciousness. This is what the Jewish statement is. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And that one, the Jews themselves don't quite understand. You know, people accuse Hindus of being idol worship. That's not true. They're ideal worshippers. That's different. All these different gods are just representations of ideals. But they're in the Sanatana Dharma, which is what they teach in India too. That in that Sanatana Dharma, the reality is that God is everything. And our duty is to merge back into that. One of the ancient things which Yogananda mentioned in Autobiography of a Yogi is that God's consciousness is center everywhere, circumference nowhere. Each person is a center, but each person has a circumference. If we could get rid of that circumference of self-definitions, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm an American, I'm an Indian, I'm a Frenchman, whatever. I like this kind of cheese, and I like that kind of bread, and I like doing this, and I like to do that. All of these self-definitions, if we could get rid of that circumference, there is no difference between me and you. We're all one. This is the purpose of this truth of this philosophy and the purpose of this temple. You know, I had this idea for a temple back in 1961. It was in Delhi. I wanted to create a temple like that, and I was meditating on what would be the best form for the kind of temple that would express our philosophy. And it occurred to me that a flat ceiling sort of seems almost to press on your head, whereas a dome seems to reflect back to you the same kind of energies that go out. Now, this may seem fanciful, but you know, it was very interesting that I was in the Morrison Planetarium in San Francisco many years ago, waiting for a show of some sort of stellar thing. And just at the last moment, it seemed, suddenly a whole bunch of school children, 5, 6, 7-year-old, came and all gathered around me. And I was sitting there feeling so peaceful, and suddenly all this jittering and chattering, and they were all restless. And I was thinking of moving when I noticed that one by one, each of these children was becoming quiet. There was something in the effect of a dome that made them that way. There was no program going on that yet, but that rounded ceiling seemed to be, to my mind, the effect that created that calmness. Now, we're living in an age of energy now. Energy seems to be the hallmark of our age. And the thought of the energy, in fact, I read an article quite recently that the shape of a ceiling has an effect on the kind of work that you do. There is energy. You can't see energy, you can't taste it or touch it, but it's something real, and we're becoming more and more aware of energy, vibrations, these things. Temples give that effect, and I think this is a perfect shape. I wanted to build a temple like that in New Delhi. I actually got Nehru's permission, but I was vetoed by my own organization, who were horrified that I would do something so new. Best thing that ever happened to me was when they threw me out on my ear, because I've been able to build this work. And you all wouldn't be here if it weren't for that fact, so I'm grateful. I've been able to understand and to express without having to worry about what a board of directors tells me I may and may not express, the truth that God is one, that Yogananda was a great soul, but you can't be greater than the Absolute. All great masters and saints are the same. You can't say this in organizations, but we don't have an organization. We're a group of individuals who come together because we believe in the same things. All our communities are places, each one of them is autonomous, so that we won't get this megalith of a thing ordained and ordered from some big center. And our belief is self-realization. Each one of you must define what these teachings are, because the teachings begin from the center of each one of you outward. The wonderful thing about this teaching is its individuality. But the other wonderful thing about that individuality is understanding that everybody is our brother and sister in God. I believe this too, that we can make beautiful pronouncements about the need for peace on earth, but how are we going to do it? When I was 15 was when I first thought seriously of creating communities, because when a group of people live together according to an ideal, then they can make an impact. When people, and Ananda is the proof of that, people come from all over the world to see why is it that you live together in harmony, in happiness, in brotherhood. You don't find, when you listen to a sitcom on the television or something, people shouting at each other, screaming at each other, the violence, the pettiness. You don't find those things in this community. You find people being respectful, loving, kind, harmonious, and cooperative. Now, if you can get a group of people from all levels of society and from many different countries living that way, then you've got a proof that it's possible. Enough words, example speaks louder than words. And we have already created about 8 communities with maybe 1,000 people living in them. It's only a beginning. With this example, people are beginning. You know, my book on the art of supportive leadership is being taught in many big businesses. Many big businesses are realizing that what we are teaching, because enough people are doing it to have reached a critical mass. I believe that this is the most important thing happening in the world today, to give examples of how we can do it, not just talk about the need for doing it. So you did the first thing in talking about the need. Now this is how. We live together in that kind of harmony. You know, in India, I have a television program every day of the year, and it goes to something like 20 or 25 million homes. This is making an impact. I believe that perhaps the most important work we can do is in India. And I believe in being practical too. So not just a beautiful temple, not just ideals, but we're also creating a solar energy thing which is revolutionary. And I think it will have a big impact. We're going into the villages of India. There's something like 750 or 800,000 villages. Most of them, if not all of them, have no electricity. And we hope with this we're not interested in making billions, we're interested in serving billions. And so, we've already gone to villages and they're interested in having what we have to offer. The solar energy and also a wind turbine. It's working. And we have a team in America right now developing this system. I don't think they can beat us on this. You know, you always have to worry about people challenging your patents, but I doubt that they can go back to 1943, and that's when this idea first came. I graduated from high school, and I went upstate New York. We went out to the movies. We were working on a farm there, and we went out to the movies one night and lost our way coming back walking. And around 4:30 in the morning, they say it's always darkest before dawn. That's not true. It depends on the moon. But it's definitely coldest before dawn. We were freezing, and I realized that the ground was cold, but the road was still warm. The asphalt retained the heat, and I realized that there are things that retain heat much longer than other things. Our whole system is based on the retention of heat. If you can get heat going to cold, you can generate electricity. So on the basis of this is our invention. And our crew, we have a man there who is used to be a rocket scientist. We have others who are, one person is the scientist with the Navy who does lots of new projects and so on. We think we have something red hot. And it can change the face of the world. But you know, in India it's even easier because they don't have the infrastructure. And without that infrastructure, we can come in with a whole new structure. If we can create solar energy in all these villages, what a change it can make in society. So here we are, a spiritual community, yes, but we're not just spiritually oriented in the sense of the world is there and we're here. This is why we've invited people from the governments to come, why we've invited the consul from San Francisco, why we had the ambassador from India to Italy talk at the Campidoglio. We want to be a part of the human race. We're not trying to separate ourselves. In the Indian teachings, there is this thought of trying to find Kevala Moksha, liberation from this. But while you're in this mess, you might as well make a decent thing out of it. I had the desire, I must admit, to be a hermit. But I also had this desire, which was in utter conflict with that. If I find a good thing, I want everybody to know about it. And my guru told me that was what I had to do. And it was quite a while before I could really adjust myself to it. But it's true, I did want to make this teaching. It's so great. This idea of unifying people, of helping people to see the oneness of mankind, the oneness of religions. This dome gives a sense of the oneness of things, not of the particular boxed little differences that you see in life. This is our philosophy. Everything basically is Brahman. Everything is one. And while we try to seek Brahman beyond illusion, beyond Maya, at the same time we try to channel Brahman into the world. We try to channel God. And this is the union between East and West. Every country, in a way, has its own particular talent. There was a story about somebody who wanted a group of international students to write about the elephant. And the German wrote about war making with the elephant, the uses of the elephant in time of war. And the Frenchman wrote about lovemaking among the elephants. And the Italian wrote about the beautiful song of the elephant trumpeting. And the Englishman wrote about the aristocratic character of the elephant. And the Indian wrote about the philosophical nature of the elephant. The American wrote about how to make bigger and better elephants. There are these differences, and they're fascinating. And I have managed to live, as you know, in many countries. I was born in Romania and educated there and in England and Switzerland and so on. So I've always been fascinated by these differences. But underneath it all, you see that whether people like curry or lamb chops or pasta, everybody wants good food. Everybody wants good tastes. Everybody wants kindness. Everybody wants peace. Everybody wants love, and underneath it all, we all want the same thing. This is the teaching of Sanatana Dharma, that the essence of God is not some big policeman up there watching and waiting for you to make a mistake so he can hurl you into hell. The nature of God is Satchidananda, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss, is the way my guru translated that. And all of us are seeking God, but we don't know it. And so a mafioso will think, well, I want to be happy, so I want money, I want power. And other people will say, well, I want marriage, or I want children, or I want this and that. But everybody, you'll notice, I got a letter from somebody who was a very famous movie actor just a year ago. And he says, I have the most beautiful wife. I have all the success I could possibly ask for, all the money I could ask for. He said, I'm miserable. You know what a terrible thing it is? As long as you're climbing a ladder, you can always hope there's something up there. But when you get to the top of any ladder you're reaching, you reach a plateau and you see it's desert. Nobody in the world is satisfied. They're always looking for something else, except one class of people, those who know the Spirit, those who have inner bliss, those who have peace. They all have said the same thing. There's not one who said, oh, what a scam. They all know this is the purpose of life. And so what we're here to tell people is, okay, seek your desires. We're not going to fight that. You can't wish people were other than they are, because that's what they are. But at least realize that what you're really seeking is more than that. And the way to find it, after every effort, you try to become successful at this, you try to build that business, you try to become famous or successful in whatever project it might be. At the end of it all, you're disillusioned, you're disappointed, you're not happy, and you withdraw into yourself in that disappointment. Sooner or later, after many incarnations perhaps, the time must come when you think, well, every time I've recoiled into myself. Then maybe the answer lies in myself. And the thing is that it's a beautiful theory, but when you find that it works, and that everybody who does that finds what he's looking for, then you've got to say that common sense itself dictates you've got to seek God. Add God to whatever you're doing. You will find that the more you find of Him, the more happy you are. In that play last night, we had Ramesh saying, the more you have of money, the more you have of God, because God's at everything. Well, but it doesn't work that way. Whereas the more you have of bliss inside, the more you just don't want anything else except to share with others. And I believe that this is the essence of our Guru's teaching. Don't just hog the whole cheese for yourself. Don't just go to a mountain and seek it for yourself. Be in the world. Why is it that all the monasteries everywhere are virtually empty? You find a few little old men in their 80s, but, yeah, all right, I knew I was opening a Pandora's box. But at the same time, we can all, in our hearts, wherever we are, we can seek God. Whether you're married or single, if you live according to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, nishkam karma, action without desire, personal fruits of your actions. And if you live that way, all I can say is try it out. It works. You don't have to take it as a dogma. Just we live in a world and in an age of experimentation. Why not experiment with these truths? This is what this temple's about, with its universal dome covering. I remember when I was a boy in college, and we went out on a beach party, and I walked away from my friends and just walked down the beach, and I was thinking, the same ocean is lapping on the shores of so many different other countries, and the same sky unites us all. And that idea of a dome was already there in my mind. This all overarching truth. This is what we want to emphasize in this temple of light here. This overarching truth that unites us all. We're not so different from one another. Wherever you go, everybody has the same basic desire. We all want peace, yes. Love, yes. But finally, it all becomes defined as Satchidananda, bliss. We want that bliss. And we'll never be happy until we find it. And we all have a glorious destiny, because that is our destiny. The great masters have not come to show us how great they are. They have come to show us how great we are potentially, what our potential is and what we can become. Every human being is so close to that truth. All we want to say is we're not trying to dictate or do anything except try it out. It works. Joy to you.
Thy love